I'm here with Ian Callum, who is the designer of Jaguar and is the man responsible to completely give the British motoring industry a facelift, and which was a much needed facelift from the 80s. And I think 2 decades on, you've come and you've completely changed what British motoring heritage is, or what the whole design philosophy is, bearing in mind the whole minimalist approach.
Well, thank you very much. I think for me it really was about going back to first principles, and every Jaguar that we've done, the XK, the XF in particular, and the XJ, the new one, we really looked back to what the values were of Jaguar back in the 60s. And what we did was we took those values of purity and simplicity. And you mentioned minimalism. It really is about discipline and creating surfaces that are very, very pure. And just making sure that every line is very pleasing to look at. There is no sort of contrast or discord. It's really about creating beautiful lines. That's what original Jaguars always did. And what we tried to do was capture that philosophy, but wrap it up in a modern shape. The other thing that I always noticed about Jaguar in the past was they always had great proportions. They're always a little bit better than everything else on the road. And that's because Sir William Lyons, who was the founder, he really had a great eye for proportions and lines. And I wanted to get Jaguar back to that status again. I think Jaguar has the right to go and do something which just looks a little bit better proportioned than everything else. And looking a little bit different from everything else. So we're very pleased we've got the XJ to show that.
We do like the tail lights and the whole innuendo, or the whole internal joke that you have going. It kind of mimics or mirrors cat claws. So was that some sort of intentional thing, or it was just something that was a subconscious thing and kind of like manifested itself with the whole embodiment of the creature that is the Jaguar?
Yes, I have to be honest with you and say that we usually come up with these analogies after the event. We've got cat's eyes at the front and cat's claws at the back, but we don't really set out to do that. We think of ideas and we come up with these graphics. The wonderful thing about LED lamps is you can do almost anything with them. And somebody came up with these 3 lines, and I looked at them and says, these are the graphics we need to put in the car. And only afterwards realised we produced some cat's claws. So, but I think people like that analogy. It's good fun. It's good fun.
Speaking of LED lights and the whole new take on color and lighting and everything, are you particularly keen about the phosphorus blue lights? I think you did refer to them as otherworldly or something ominous. I mean, I personally do like them, but you coming from I think an institute of design philosophy, the world kind of adopting more kitschy neon colors.
You know, we worked very hard to find phosphor blue for the XF, and we chose it from amongst, I think, about 15 different colours we looked at, including greens and reds, although I think red is just too aggressive. The thing we discovered about the phosphor blue is it has a very calming effect. People say blue is a cold colour, but actually it's a very calming colour, and that's what I like about it. The reason we continue into XJ for the moment, and future XKs as well, is that we want consistency. You know, I think the one thing about a luxury brand is you can make some things very different, but you always have to some consistency of feature through the car, and that's something we chose to keep the same. I'm sure when the technology arrives, we maybe have lighting you can change colour with, but that's probably the next generation.
What do you expect in the coming years of Jaguar?
Well, really part of this whole process is to convince people and to let people see that Jaguar is very much part of the 21st century. I want the car to appeal to younger people. I'm very flattered and very pleased that you like it. You're the right age group to like the car. Now, I know because of the cost of it, it will be older people who buy it generally. But, you know, it's younger people who influence the buying of other people. And I always say it's for younger-minded people anyway. You know, I'm 55 now, but I always think I'm 18, so it's about appealing to younger-minded people. Since XF, our demographic around the world is reduced by 10 years, and so it's clearly working for us. What I really want out of all this, within 10 years from now, I want people to understand Jaguar naturally to be design leadership, so that's something I'm looking forward to.
Well, Ian, just stick with Jaguar. You're doing a brilliant job.
Thank you very much indeed, and thank you for your good words.
Thank you, Ian. This was certainly a pleasure.